Alright, here we go with another Ultramarines tutorial. So this one we're going to look at the Ultramarines Rhino. Here it is when it looks, what it's going to look like when it's all done. I've got the Forge World doors on it here in the front, and I'll show you how I did it. So I did this one actually with the airbrush, and then finished off the painting by hand, and so I'll show you all of that sort of in video. But first I'll just walk through the paints I used. So I do have the video for all this, and you'll see it at 4x speed commentated just as soon as I get through these parts here. So same basic colors, got their blues, whites, silvers, golds, a little bit of red, black, and other colors. So blue, obviously the color of the armor there, some gold details such as the skulls, and a couple silver details, and I'll explain how I did those in this particular one a little bit differently. Some purity seals, black on the bolters there, some the purity seal actual parchment paper or whatever it is, and then some of the white. Okay, so let's switch over to the video, and I'll come back and show the final images. Alright, so starting out, we've got my Rhino here. I base coated it with the Army Painter Ultramarine Blue, and some of the silver bits that I was able to keep off, I spray painted those with the Army Painter metal primer there. So what I'm doing here is I'm using darker color to shade in all of the areas, so it's actually just a kind of a black line. I'm using just regular airbrush paints, so trying to paint in around all the panels and get a sort of a shaded look on the Rhino now. Now I'm just doing my blues, starting with the base one there, and I'm working my way all the way up on the raised areas. So I'm just showing kind of the beginning of each stage here. You get an idea of what it's doing to each level, and working my way up. So as I do each one of these, less and less of that black is showing, but it does still stay a little bit there. And then the weathering will bring out the shading as well, all those panels. Really what this helps do is get nice even tones bringing up onto the highlights. And I will dry brush a bit later just to get the edges. And actually, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So I've done all my airbrushing. So the airbrushing goes pretty quick for this because I'm not doing a ton of detail on it. And so what I'm doing here is just dry brushing against all the hard edges, trying to bring those out and make sure that they're semi-sharp. And again, some of this will get disappear when I do some of the weathering and that. So I'm just trying to add as much depth to the model as I can in each step. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's done there. Now I'm going around with the lead belcher and going to be painting on some of the silver areas, so the tracks there. I could have left those off, spray painted them silver, and then glued them on after, and then just weathered them, but I didn't. So that's me trying to fix that issue. Probably next rhinos I do, that's what I'll leave the tracks off and then just super glue them on. Okay, and going around and getting some of the grays. So that's the ultramarine symbol there, and it looks like I've already done the parchment and the gold. I guess I must have missed those videos, or maybe they're out of order. Hopefully not. And then okay, so with some Abaddon black for the bolt gun. So I did paint this at the same time as a Land Raider. I find that once I have the airbrush out, it's good to do a whole batch of things, so that way you don't have to clean up everything once, because I find it takes a little while to clean up the airbrush. So I do switch between some of the parts here. Okay, so using some Mephiston red for the seals, and what I actually did with them, I didn't bother highlighting or anything. I just painted the Mephiston red, and you'll see later that I shade them with Agrax Earthshade with the rest of the stuff on the details there, and then that was it. Okay, Necron Compound, just using a small dry brush to try to get some of the detail off the treads there. Okay, so now I'm using Stegodon blues to do all of the lenses on the hatches, and I like that sort of an aqua blue. I guess, I don't know, you could do it as a red or some other sort of a ruby tone, but I kind of like the turquoisey color there. It adds a bit more color and gives the right impression, I think. And then you can see doing some of the Land Raider bits as well, doing each of the parts with your standard sort of gemstone type thing, where you start with the darkest color and then you do layered highlights down towards the bottom edge. And then of course the most important part of doing any sort of lenses is the white dot at the very end, which will be next. And that just makes the eye think that there's a reflection there, and it tricks you into thinking it's shiny when it's actually a matte finish. As you can see, the majority of the time that I'm spending here is on all the small little details. The airbrushing itself takes way less time and way less steps, but it's good for doing big surface areas. Okay, so now doing my Agrax Earthshade wash on all those details there. And just doing that liberally, doing it on the grays and the golds and the parchment. Just getting there, just getting a nice wash with that. Okay, then layering up the grays. So a nice even mid-tone gray on all the raised surfaces. And just basically avoiding all the cracks there and the flat side edges. So that helps bring that out. These grays kind of trick you into thinking it's a white, but it's not actually going to be a white. Ushabti bone for nice flat areas on the parchments. And we're starting to make some good progress here. I've got those smoke launchers glued on now, and everything's starting to come together quite nicely. I'm trying to avoid the recessed just to leave that detail in there. Okay, so now what I'm doing is the new texture paint or the new technical paint. So this is the that earth one. What's it called? I don't have it in front of me. Sorry. The Agrilian earth, or it's got the micro texture in it. And so what I'm doing is I'm painting it in all of the deeper areas on the model there, and trying to get it in there as if it's grime and dirt, to make sure that I really can't find that paint. Here we are. Typhus corrosion. What am I talking about? Typhus corrosion goes in all those areas, and it's kind of like a wash. Okay, now I'm just finishing up some of the other highlights in here, doing some golds. Anyway, so the typhus corrosion is a kind of a neat texture in there. Don't know if I really needed it after doing all the weathering powders, and you'll see that coming up very shortly. So just painting on the edge highlights of those parchments. Alright, here we go. So Vallejo pigments is what I've got, and so I'm just using a giant brush and just kind of jamming it in there along the bottom edge. And I'm going to use some of the different colors as well. Just trying to get it all covered in there. You can see it just going everywhere. It's kind of a messy thing. Probably would have been better if I hadn't done on my wheel here, or maybe put a piece of paper down or something like that. So I've got all the pigments open. I'm using little bits of all of them to try to get some different coloration going there. I'm really only putting it on the lower half of the Rhino. And now I've got some mineral spirits there, so it's like kind of like a turpentine from the art store, and just dabbing it along there. And what it's doing is it's just spreading through the powders, and it's going to help affix it in place. Just using a little bit of black here to jab it on the smokestacks to get my sort of burnt look there. And I think that's just about it. Oh, yeah, and around those vent things as well. Yeah, that's it for the play-by-play, and I'll show you some of the finished images next. Alright, so we're back at the finished images. So here's the Rhino after I've given it a nice light coat of clear matte finish. From its Tester's dull coat is what I use. So let's take a kind of a spin around here, and you can see the typhus corrosion has been put in there, and then I've got the weathering powders over top of it, and just the nice tonal variations from the airbrush really, I think, come out nicely. Some of that's the photo and the lighting, but I think in person it looks half decent as well. And you can see just kind of focusing around some of the areas that would get corrosion on them in the natural environment, if you will. Really like these ultramarine doors, really add a lot of character to this. Although if I don't have, for the rest of my rhinos, I'll probably just put like tactical symbols or whatever on the top there and maybe some decals. But didn't do that on this one. I figured that that was enough detail on its own. There you can see some of the up close detail on the sides there. And so when I did spray paint it, I didn't. I sprayed the hatches with the Army Painter bolt gun metal sort of a thing, and that was just to help speed things up. And I kind of like how it looks with just the separate metal hatches and the smoke launchers. I did those separately as well. And if I do my next rhinos, I'll do the tracks separate as well. I find that painting those, putting them on, and then doing the weathering, it's very simple and fast way of doing it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you check out my other ultramarine stuff. If you have any other questions about weathering powders, I've got another one coming up for the Land Raider. It's all painted up. I just got to put the video together. So yeah, check it out. Let me know if you have any questions, and check out my blog for other work in progress videos, tutorials, and projects and whatever. See you next time.